let's go to the pyramid itself. So you have a very fascinating hypothesis as to what the pyramid, or theory, as to what the pyramid actually was. And it's based on where the supposed king's chamber is, where those passages go through into it. And what do you think that thing was?
Well, my first book pretty much describes what I thought it was in 1998, which was a power plant. The book is entitled The Giza Power Plant. My second book has evolved, and I describe it as an electron harvester. So, it's kind of like, you could describe it as both, but and today, when you do, or people in any decade, they think of a power plant and they see these huge chimneys with smokestacks
or a nuke plant.
Yeah, or a nuke plant. A power plant, dirty, nasty, unclean. But an electron harvester, clean, pollution-free, not a problem.
Has that been achieved conventionally? I mean, today? Is there a thing called an electron harvester?
I think that actually when you look at a generator, that's an electron harvester, because we don't create electrons. We just harvest them. It's just how we do it. And so, when you say an electron harvester, you could say that, say a wind generator. You have a windmill, and you have a generator inside it, and then you're collecting electrons off the commutator in a generator.
And that's where the electricity comes from.
And that's your electricity.
Right, or hydroelectric, you'd use the flow of the water.
Yeah, you don't create you just release them.
You harvest it from a process.
You harvest them through a process.
And the process that you think they used in the Great Pyramid involved those shafts?
It involves a lot of things. Yeah, it's not just one single thing. It's a system, not a single thing. So when you look
Can we show a photo of that? Do we have a photo of the pyramids and the shafts and where the king's chamber is, I know you've described this before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a photo of...
I do. It's in the...
I was trying to figure out which one you wanted.
Okay, this is perfect. This works.
Yeah, that works.
So these names, the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, you don't think that that's actually a king's chamber or queen's chamber? You think it's something else?
Well, out of respect to the Egyptians, I
call it what they say
call
it is.
them. Yeah.
Okay.
But I do have a different terminology for them as they function.
Now, the initial surface of the Great Pyramid is covered in smooth limestone, right? So it's polished and shiny, and apparently it would collect insane amounts of light.
The outer surface of the Great Pyramid mostly is missing, and,
right.
But it has been described as if it was finished, and depending on the polish that it received, it could reflect a lot of light.
Do you think that had something to do with the design of this power plant?
I don't think there's any part of that pyramid that did not serve a practical function.
Okay, so this is the image that you have here, and what this image shows us in Northern Shaft, and these shafts have been described as portals to stars because people have looked up through there, and you go through the shaft, you see stars, but what you're saying is something entirely different. What do you think these shafts were for?
Well, I think they serve two different purposes, actually four different purposes, if you will, because in the theory that I propose, which is, I don't know, it's a speculation, a theory. The whole process is kind of like a heuristic process where you're grabbing information, you're moving here. It doesn't matter what source you're getting it from.
Right.
Because when you are looking for answers, you look everywhere. You try and find, you look everywhere. So when I was going through the process of trying to figure it out, I was collecting information from everywhere. And one of for the southern shaft and the northern shaft of the Queen's Chamber, that was a huge mystery to me. And I tried to to fit it into what were they doing? I mean, if you look at the details, the facts of their design and what the ancient Egyptians were doing, why they designed them that way, you have two conduits coming into a chamber, but they're not connected to the chamber. And we didn't even know they existed until 1872 or 4. Wayman Dixon.
Can you show me that image again, please? So they're coming into the chamber, but they don't enter into the chamber. So they stop.
Their original design had the shafts ending 5 inches before coming into the chamber. So you had like 5 inches of limestone that was left in the block.
So did someone remove that limestone?
Yes.
Why did they do that?
Wayman Dixon, because they were examining the chamber and they were poking around. And Wayman Dixon, it is reported, so the legend goes, noticed a crack in the wall. And so he took a rod and pushed it through the crack. And the rod, it didn't meet any resistance. It kept going. So he had his a worker come in, Bill Grundy, with a hammer and chisel, and say, chisel the limestone around that.
God, people are stupid. So,
well, they did. Yeah, they didn't have ultrasonic thickness test.
No, but still, goddamn, to have the arrogance to go and chip away at the pyramid because you're curious.
Look at how advanced. You know, I don't care for revisionist historians because, you know, you have to consider what people were doing, their mindset in the day. And then I try to look at on the bright side, right? It's like, I don't look at it as a negative thing because if somebody hadn't opened up those shafts, we wouldn't know about them.
Right.
And it's the same with the chambers above the King's Chamber. Without Howard Vyse and his military expedition blasting his way up into the pyramid, we wouldn't know about them either. You won't be. I mean, there's a lot there. I think there's a lot there right now, and it's being investigated now. But there's things that have been revealed through scanning, like muography, the Scan Pyramid Project. And they found that large void above the Grand Gallery.
Right.
And so, you know.
Which is larger than the King's Chamber, right?
It's longer than the King's Chamber, yeah.
And so is that's not even represented here on this?
It's about the size of the cabin on a Boeing 707.
These shafts came through and then they met limestone at the end. What do you think was going on?
In order to answer that question, I had to look at the rest of the pyramid, okay? What was it doing? And how was it functioning? And so one of the key pieces of evidence that I used to propose a process that was going on is the northern shaft. And the northern shaft has dimensions and has an appearance that is similar to a waveguide that you would use for microwaves. And the dimensions of it would approximate the wavelength of hydrogen.
So explain a waveguide. How does that work?
Yeah, it's like a waveguide is to transmit microwaves, electromagnetic energy, you know, in the microwave region, and it is passed more efficiently through like a tube or waveguide, and that's what they use. I mean, they're very complicated systems, you know.
And so how did this represent, in your mind, what a waveguide looks like?
Actually, you know, the idea of a waveguide came to me from a guy. We were talking about the pyramids, and I used to carry a schematic of the Great Pyramid in my back pocket, and I meet an engineer, and I go, hey, come here, let's start going through. So what do you think about this? Because I was looking for answers, suggestions, brainstorming, anything, right? And it's like, so anyway, these shafts right here, and he looks at it, and he was into electronic engineering, and he's like, they look like waveguides to me. And I thought, well, that's interesting. They look like waveguides. Okay. What if they are waveguides? How did they function? I mean, what were they used for? What were they using waveguides for in, ancient Egypt? And so I started to go down that rabbit hole. And that led me to the Queen's Chamber. I say, okay, waveguides, you need a medium. You need microwaves to go through a waveguide. What frequency of microwave was it, right? And you look at the dimensions, and you come up with a match for hydrogen. Oh,
how do you do that? How do you come up with a match for hydrogen through the dimensions?
Yeah. The wavelength of hydrogen is 8.309 inches, and the width of the northern shaft is 8.4 inches. And a waveguide generally has the wavelength, and then about half of the wavelength in height. So it's a rectangular shaft.
Just like all the shafts are.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Queen's Chamber shaft is a little more square than the King's Chamber shaft.
So a different function?
Different function, yeah.
So these waveguides, you believe, what are they collecting, and where are they getting it from?
Good question, Joe. They had we are bombarded with microwaves every day. I mean, it's the signal from, they say, the Big Bang, and there's it comes from atomic hydrogen out in the universe, in outer space. But
so we're being bombarded, and you believe that these passages were collecting this.
Yeah. So anyway, so then you say, okay, if we build a device and we say, and we want to energize hydrogen, we bring it to a higher energy state, and just like, in a laser, where you have microwave amplification through stimulated emission, right? So if we want to collect energy that is in a gaseous medium, say that is hydrogen medium, and the electrons in the hydrogen are pumped up to a higher energy state, and we want to collect the energy in that, introduce a microwave signal, direct it through that gas, and stimulate the emission of the energy, collect that energy, and shoot it up the southern shaft. And so that was like, okay, that might work.
So what kind of gas?
Hydrogen.
And so where are you getting the hydrogen from?
Queen's Chamber.
So there's hydrogen in the Queen's Chamber, and how does it get in there?
The shafts. But it doesn't come in as hydrogen. That's a part of the theory in the Giza power plant was there are two chemicals that are introduced into the chamber, and the chemicals mix and they boil off hydrogen.
And these chemicals are just coming from the radioactive waves of space?
No. The chemicals, I believe, are manufactured and delivered to those shafts and coming.
Okay.
Right.
So they add some sort of chemicals to it.
Was this the pad that Zahi was using right here? This one?
Maybe. That might have been the worst podcast I've ever done. But maybe a good one, too. Just to see, okay, this is the guy, this is this closed-minded fellow that's been in charge of gatekeeping all the knowledge about
and
Egypt.
Still standing on the same ideas, even after this LiDAR comes out.
The tomography, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
That stuff's fascinating. Because I've been, even after that podcast, I've been watching more videos for those Italian scientists describing it. They've used it to, and this is one of the things that I brought up, one of the temples that they scanned with this was very accurate. And he's like, but this was only 50 feet down. Like, yeah, okay, right, but it works. Like, at 50 feet down, you get an accurate representation of what's inside there, and he was the one, Zahi, supposedly, discovered it. But he's discovered everything, basically.
Yeah.
So how do you...
Genius.
He's the best. So
but the good thing is that Graham can go back to Egypt now.
Yes. Yeah.
So they patched up something.
Yeah, well, that was one of the reasons why Zahi came on.
Oh, really?
Because Graham talked to Zahi, and like, Zahi wants to do this. We're friends now. I was like, bring him in. Let's go. Bring him in. I'll talk to him. I thought it would probably...
Did he invite you to Egypt?
Yeah.
And what'd you say? Yeah.
If I'm going with Graham.
Or
Jimmy
told Graham.
Corsetti.
I told Graham I wanted him to take me a few years ago. He said, I can't go. They'll kill me. So next thing you know, I see Graham's taking people to Egypt. I said, what the fuck?
Well, that's nice. It's
I'm
nice
happy
that they
for 'em.
patched it up.
I went back. I went there last July.
Did you?
June.
How was it?
Incredible. Yeah, it was incredible.
Did you walk away thinking immediately, there's a lot we don't know?
100%.
Yeah.
And what they tell you is complete bullshit.
Yeah. I have a friend who went there, and the archaeologist that showed him it said, this is complete bullshit. Like, the narrative
Really?
is complete bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said,
They're not
the
burial
scale of
chambers.
it, he said the scale of it and the technology
The
involved in
precision.
construction is beyond our current understanding of how to do this.
And it's not just the pyramids and the Sphinx. The other
No.
temples are magnificent.
Not only that, there's probably a bunch of shit under the ground.
I know. That's what I wanted to go see. But the cool thing was the first temple I went in was what I'd seen on Ancient Aliens, where at the very top of the temple you have one of the most famous hieroglyphs, which has a spaceship, a helicopter, and a submarine up there. As clear as you can possibly imagine. And you're
Show
like,
that.
What the fuck is that? How in the... What is that? Explain that, please. Because that looks like a spaceship, that looks like a submarine, and that 100% looks like a helicopter.
So weird. Egypt is the weirdest place on earth. It
Yeah.
really is. Because
But that's why it needs to be...
Yeah.
What the hell's underneath it?
well, I think that one.
That one right there?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Come on. That's so crazy.
That's a spaceship or a fighter jet.
some kind of a
That's a submarine.
It looks like a yacht. It looks
Or-
like one of them
it's a
oligarch
boat,
yachts
yeah.
that they keep getting
But
impounded.
that's a helicopter.
It looks like a
I mean,
helicopter
come
to
on,
me. It looks just like a helicopter.
Yeah, that was the first
if it's
place I
not a helicopter, what a goddamn
What is it?
coincidence.
Yeah.
And, there's a bunch of weird stuff there, a bunch of weird images. And how about that one plane that they found that was inside? They found like a wooden plane
Yep.
that was inside one of the chambers.
That's totally normal.
Yeah.
They just buried there with the... Yeah.
That was the other
buried
thing
there.
that Zahi was unwilling to entertain was this King's List, this Zepteki King's List that goes back 30,000 plus years.
Yes.
They all want to pretend that that's a myth, that all the other hieroglyphs are legitimately documenting the history of the region. But when
But
it
not
gets
that one.
past the narrative, these 30,000-year-old kings, that place has probably been there for a long fucking time,
Yeah, probably hundreds of thousands of years.
which is so crazy.
And it's probably built on other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the other thing about the base of the pyramids. Is like you have to realize like there's a base there before they put the pyramids up. They put this insane base. And if what they're saying is accurate with these readings, that there's a structure that goes under the ground 2 kilometers.
What is that?
If they can find that, then you have to throw everything out the window.
But aren't you with me? Like, why are we not interested in that?
well, we are.
But why is modern archaeology not going, yeah, let's fucking figure this shit out?
Because modern archaeology forever has been saying that we have the answers, that we have the timeline. We know when Khufu built this. We know when Khafre built this. We know who did this. And they're not correct. It's not accurate. It's too weird. There's no way you have all the information. Also, where'd everybody go? Like, there's people living there, but it's clearly not the same civilization. So what happened to this insane civilization? If there wasn't a collapse of society at an immense level, if there wasn't some sort of a civilization-destroying event,
Yeah.
then
Younger
where did
Dryas, yeah.
Yeah, what happened?
How about this idea? We got a new pope.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the States.
From Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's open up the Library of the Vatican.
Good luck. Good luck doing that.